Thank you to my family, to our volunteers, to our supporters, to every Iowan who believes politics can still be about service, decency, and getting things done. But tonight is just the beginning. And together we are going to defeat Zach Nunn. We are going to flip this seat and give Iowa families a voice in Washington again. This campaign is rooted in faith. Faith in Iowa, faith in our neighbors, faith that people of different backgrounds, different political parties, different beliefs can come together to solve problems. That is the Iowa I know. That is the Iowa that I believe in. And that is the Iowa that I am running to represent. My faith comes from a lifetime of service. As a chaplain at a children's hospital, I sat with families on the hardest nights of their lives. I learned that when people are facing the unimaginable, you show up. As a minister in a rural church, I took the church directory and I went out and I visited people in their homes because that's what it takes to build trust, to serve a community. You show up. At the DMARC Food Pantry Network, I brought people together to help thousands of our neighbors put food on the table because when people are hungry, you show up. And as a state senator, every day is about helping my neighbors, and I do not ask first if they voted for me because public service is about serving people, and that means showing up. But right now, nobody is showing up for us in Washington.
That's right.
Iowans are working hard, but too many families are falling behind. Groceries cost too much, healthcare costs too much, childcare costs too much, utilities cost too much. And while Iowa families are stretching every dollar, Zach Nunn is taking care of his corporate PAC donors and the party bosses. And when he comes back to Iowa, he's too afraid to face the people he represents because he knows his votes are hurting Iowans. He refuses to show up for us. That ends now. In Congress, I will work for Iowans, not party bosses, not corporate PACs, not billionaires. If you want to know what's wrong with Washington, you do not need to look any further than Zach Nunn. Zach Nunn voted for nearly $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts that are threatening hospitals and closing clinics across our state. He dismissed these worries as a myth. A myth? Tell that to the families in Ottumwa losing their doctors. Tell that to the healthcare workers in Des Moines losing their jobs. Tell that to families in Centerville wondering where they are supposed to go now that their clinic is closing. Zach Nunn calls it a myth. The rest of us know it for what it is. It is a crisis. And in November, we are going to hold him accountable. Not only does Zach Nunn vote to make healthcare harder to get and more expensive, he supported those chaotic tariffs that are raising prices and devastating Iowa farmers. He's called it winning. He was the deciding vote to let this costly war drag on with no congressional oversight. Then he gaslights Iowans and says the pain that we are feeling is just hype. He takes the corporate money and then he votes the way they tell him to vote, and then he lies to our faces about the harm that it is causing us. Iowans deserve a representative that listens. Iowa deserve a representative who remembers who sent them there. Iowans deserve a representative who shows up and tells the truth. And the truth is this: our government is broken because too many politicians have forgotten who they work for. In the state Senate, I introduced legislation for term limits. I introduced legislation to ban politicians and their staff from insider trading. And in Congress, I will do that again. Because public office should never be a path to personal profit. It should be a promise to serve. I will work to overturn Citizens United. It is time to get the dark money and the corporate PAC money out of our politics. Because democracy should belong to the people, not the highest bidder. And while Zach Nunn protects the system that keeps him in his seat, I am running to change it. It is time for a representative who shows up to help their neighbor, lower costs, make healthcare more affordable, and take on the corruption in Washington. Because Iowa is at its best when we take care of each other. When a neighbor is sick, we bring food. When a family is struggling, we help. When a storm comes through, we grab a chainsaw, clear the road, and help rebuild. We do not ask whether someone is a Democrat or a Republican before we help them. We help them because they are our neighbor. That is the spirit we need in Washington. That is the spirit of this campaign that we are taking all the way to November. I know what it means to work hard and still worry about making ends meet. I worked my way through school with shifts at McDonald's and Walmart. I waited tables. I cleaned hotel rooms. I worked the jobs that too many politicians talk about, but few have actually done. So when I talk about lowering costs, I know what Iowans are going through. When I talk about childcare, I speak as a mom who paid more for childcare than for our mortgage. When I talk about healthcare, I'm talking as someone who was at the bedside, who was in the emergency room, who was with the family during the long hours in the waiting room. I don't just talk about service, I live it. Not speeches, not slogans, knocking on thousands of doors, holding open town halls, showing up for my neighbors. This is the difference in this race. The difference is clear. Zach Nunn serves Washington. I will serve Iowa. Zach Nunn answers to the party bosses. I will answer to the people of the 3rd District. Zach Nunn is a politician. We need public servants, and that is what I'm called to be. That is the choice in this election, and it is a choice. I am ready to take to every county, every town, every main street, every union hall, every farm, every church basement, every small business, every front porch in this district, because we will not let this election be decided by the Washington insider. This election will be won right here in Iowa, and we will do it by showing up, and we will do it together. So tonight, we celebrate. Tomorrow, we organize, we knock doors, we make calls, we talk to our neighbors, we show up to build the biggest, the strongest, the most determined campaign this district has ever seen. Thank you. Let's get to work.